Carl and Brendan here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for sure. And it's the big question as we are doing something that will be dated for now because it's up to this point. It is our personal 3 favorite live shows we've ever experienced, be it a festival show, an actual gig, and so on. But the ones that you just remember automatically when you think of just great, great live shows, recent, old. Some have had to be dropped off the list that I really didn't want to. But I did my list based on what jumped into my head first, rather than looking and going too analytical over it and go, well, what did I do this year and what did I do that year? I went, these 3 jumped in your head. That makes them 3 favorite easily. So that's how I went about it.
Yeah, I did a similar thing. I think I had to think a little bit. I had 2 come in straight away, and then 1 I was debating over a couple. But I did exactly what the point of the question was. Really, I had 1 that I had originally included in my list because I felt it was one of the best live shows I'd ever seen. But then as I thought about it more and more, that didn't necessarily equate to favorite. So it got replaced with the one I was debating it against. So there you go.
Fair dues, fair dues. Mine is spread out from, I got 2007, 2010, and 2015.
I have got, oh, that's interesting, isn't it? I have 2001, 2009, 2015.
Oh shit. Oh. All right. We'll leave that one to the end then. Leave that to the end then. I will go with one from the start. 2010, Thursday, the 4th of February, 2010 to be specific. So on the latter side of winter, I saw Rammstein for the first time ever at Wembley Arena. This was a much anticipated show for me going into it. I've always been a fan of this band. I'd grown up with them. I was loving what they were doing. This would have been around Libra, that album release. So I couldn't wait. And the show was spectacular. The venue was brilliant. The music was stunning. I can remember so many parts of it. So many times I stood there with my mouth open, just in awe of what I was seeing and hearing. It was an experience, so much so that I would then see them, I think, within that same year, 2 more times, once at Sonosphere, and they were fine and it was good and all that, but I don't remember much from it. And a second time at the O2 Arena, a massive, obviously, step up from Wembley Arena. And while I remember elements of that, I always come back to Wembley, and I think it's because it was the first time I saw Rammstein. So yeah, Rammstein 2010.
Cool. For my first one, I'll do my 2001 one. So this is December the 8th, 2001, back in the good old days when there was always December tours.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
Everyone come over in December. It was at Brixton Academy, and it was Machine Head, not surprisingly. And it is the show where their first ever live album was recorded, Hell Alive.
Hell Alive.
Now, this is one of my... I don't even remember who I was there with, man. I know I was there with people, but I can't remember any of that. Like, do you know what I mean? But I have memories from this show that I just love. And whenever anyone asks me what name my favorite show, this is the first one that pops in there. It was also one of the greatest first experiences I had where afterwards I could buy an album, and I was there, and that was kind of cool. This happened around quite an important sort of time. So first of all, Tattoo the Earth or Tattoo the Planet, I can't remember which it was called, was happening or due to happen. And I was going to see Pantera, right? And then that didn't happen, obviously, because of naughty terrorism. And a lot of gigs got kind of cancelled and shit off the back of September and, that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then Machine Head came over, and I remember them. It was a very emotional show. I remember Rob's quite a sensitive guy anyway, isn't he?
Yeah,
and he
hard
spoke
to sleep bloke, innit?
Yeah, he spoke long and hard, gave a lot of speeches about, how he wouldn't stand down in the face of terrorism. They will complete their tour, they will carry on. They played The Burning Red, the song, and it had everyone like after the speech, like a very emotional speech, and then played The Burning Red, and everyone had lighters out and all that sort of stuff. And it was just a very, very poignant show. And it came at a point where I kind of suffered immense disappointment because I was going to go and see Pantera. Never got to see Pantera because of this either. I don't get me wrong, a lot of people lost a lot more than a Pantera show, don't get me wrong. So, I do understand. But and then this kind of came along then a month or so later, and sort of took away all the sort of sadness and whatever, and So it's not my first time seeing Machine Head by a long shot by this point. I don't know how many times I've seen him already, but I've seen him a fair bit by this point. But it's my most prominent memory of the first time I've seen Machine Head, you know.
Yeah, this is a story. This is a detail that I'm well aware of. Obviously, we've discussed. I think probably discussed at the times when we were doing other Machine Head related videos. There's a reason why we keep coming back to Machine Head. They're an impactful band on the both of us, but more you. So yeah, I mean, admittedly, I completely lost track of the date. It's 2001. I was like, oh, no, it was in 2001. I was like, yeah, obviously, obviously. Okay, my other one then, before we go to the one that we're joined in 2015, is in 2007, Sunday, fucking Sunday, the 24th of June. I trotted along, feeling a little bit miserable because I don't really think I fancied a gig, but I was going with one of our other brothers, Liam, to a gig, which was rare even back then, to go to a gig together, just the two of us. And I remember we got there and we were queuing up to go into the Islington Academy, so that small academy. And neither of us were really feeling it. And it was Static X. And went in and had one of my most memorable shows ever. It was one of those half full shows that where you just end up having a fucking blast because you get right drunk, you can get up close, the music shit you enjoy, you're hearing all the hits you want to hear, and they're killing it on stage. And it was fantastic. I remember so much about that gig. That gig now is almost, well, coming up to a couple of years' time, it's 20 years old. And I can remember so many things. Tony Campos leaning over the barrier to do that towards me and Liam because we were pissed at the front, going nuts to it. Wayne Static sitting cross-legged in the stage while he wasn't needed like to do a vocal bit or whatever and stuff like that, just kind of like looming at the crowd and shit like that. It was so fucking cool. It's the one and only time I've ever seen Static X, and I'm glad it was then.
Yeah, it's made quite an impression to see them once, and it's one of your 3 favorite live shows.
Yeah.
Well, at the risk of sounding boring, but there's more to this.
Okay.
My next one is April the 8th, 2009. This was at the O2 Arena. We haven't seen many bands there, so you can probably start predicting who these are. This was Metallica, and it was with Machine Head.
Oh, right, that one. Oh, yeah. See, I wondered if either of us would have. I briefly flirted with Stadium, but I didn't because it was the Stadium and him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there were reasons around that, like the sound wasn't phenomenal up high and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, this was like, I guess, extra special to me because firstly, it was like my 2 favorite bands playing together. And while I had seen Metallica and I had seen Machine Head, I'd never have even really envisioned a scenario where the 2 of them would be on a bill together. That's the truth of it. You know, Metallica were kind of Black Album, Load, Reload, and a Death Magnetic. I think it was the Death Magnetic tour or the World Magnetic.
I think it was around that time, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. But it was still so far away from what Machine Head were doing, which was like around the Blackening sort of Through the Ashes sort of era, that, you know, you didn't really ever see a bill where you go, oh, Metallica with Machine Head support, and it doesn't really work. And then I remember like the stories that come out. I know that apparently James was a big fan of the Blackening and he wanted Machine Head on it. Things happened in that I'll never forget, man. Machine Head played Halo. Remember, like Metallica had the central stage, right? Yep. And they had the coffin kind of lights hanging up on the stage that kept moving around and everything like that. Machine Head they played Halo, and James came out and played guitar alongside them for Halo. So I was now watching my favorite band playing my favorite song with my favorite frontman from my other favorite band on stage together, and I was just like, yeah, this is the shit, mate. This is it. This is what it's all about. And yeah, so yeah, I love that gig. It was such a rare opportunity, you know, if you could like not just cut bands you like. We're talking about in 2009 bands that were 100% my 2 favorite bands in music, and now they were going to play together around the corner from my house. Oh, and also they're going to come out on stage and play your favorite song together. You know,
Brendan's doing the answer dirty here. The answer were there as well.
Who?
I remember the first band was
the Sword. The Sword.
Oh, the Sword. It was the Sword. Well, there you go. Yeah. The
but
Sword.
We didn't. I don't. Oh, we may have done, but I don't remember even seeing the Sword. I'm pretty sure we were probably queuing up for a £19 burger or something.
Probably it is the O2 even then. Okay, right. So this 2015 one. So my one took place on Wednesday, the 17th of June. and it was at the Camden Roundhouse.
Really? Oh, that's different.
So this came about purely, as I said, what jumped into my mind. And the weird thing is, this wasn't the first time I saw this band. I saw this band play a festival way back in like 2009. However, I realized that had little impact on me because while I knew the hits, that's all I cared about. When this came around, this band had released a brand new album a year or two beforehand that I thought was phenomenal, thought was amazing, reinvigorated my love of this band. So going to the Roundhouse and getting a great spot upstairs as well to see everything and hear everything and then get to experience all these hits, all this new music and shit live with this extremely eccentric stage show was simply phenomenal. There was nothing wrong with this gig. It was, of course, Faith No More at the Roundhouse. When I think of this gig, it's perfect in my head. I can't remember anything off about that gig. I remember the vocals, I remember the music, I remember the sound, I remember every song being excited for it, hearing Ashes to Ashes, but alongside the likes of Superhero and just Sunny Side Up as well. But now we're going to do Epic, and it's just incredible. It was the last time, and I kind of consider it the only time I've seen Faith No More, because Download Festival headliner doesn't count. I really don't remember much from it. So this was kind of the big deal, and I've been waiting for a long time for them to come back around. Shit, we had tickets pre-COVID for them to do Brixton, and then that got delayed, and then eventually just got cancelled outright. So now I'm up in a will I ever? Will it come around again? Hopefully it will. But right now, this is it. It's Faith No More. You were laughing and nodding there.
Well, I thought there was some moments in it. So for example, like it's quite interesting that my third one is also at the Roundhouse.
Ooh.
And also on June the 17th, which is yeah, I guess it says a lot for that show. This one I didn't debate at all, like weirdly. Like it was straight in my head. It was absolutely brilliant. Like you said, there are so many memories from it, man. We had a wonderful spot for it. Plenty of drink. It was a good crowd as well. I remember that, even downstairs, which was heaving, but all like moving in unison and jumping around, and it was a very positive kind of vibe. The band all dressed in white, all the flowers along the front of the stage, and then just randomly every now and then someone would walk a man in a gimp suit who was crawling like a dog on a lead across the stage and go down the other side, and you just like, did you just see that?
Oh God, I remember that now.
Sounded fantastic, like really did. The Roundhouse is a good sound anyway, but like the band still needs to sound good, and Mike Patton, like, we're both big fans of Mike Patton anyway, but the band sounded phenomenal, and it is 100% one of my favorite, but also one of the best shows I've ever been at. This is one where it crosses both. It's not just a favorite, it is also one of the best live performances I've ever seen for a band. For me, this was my first time seeing them, so it was like, I mean, for you, like it kind of felt like your first time anyway, but it was also special on that side of things. Also, like you said, the new album was phenomenal, but the hits are phenomenal, and it was faultless. It was a faultless night. I loved it.
Now, bear in mind, folks, that between us both, we have probably seen at least 1,000, maybe into the 1,000+ gigs, I would say, at this point, over our years, the amount of shows we've seen. The fact that out of 3 favorites, we would pull out the exact same one is quite impressive. Because obviously, a lot of the time, particularly I'd say in the last decade or so, we've ended up at the same shows for a lot of the bloody time. So that will occur.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw this out here then, right? Throw this out here, and off the top of your head, some honorable mentions. I know we normally keep it more specific, but just some honorable mentions that jump into your head that you might have put in this list had you, but without thinking too hard about it. So I will throw out Gojira at Brixton Academy from 2019, 2020, whatever year that was. That was the greatest, best, and unlikely ever to be topped version of Gojira I've ever seen.
Yes, that was the one I mentioned at the beginning, where I had to drop from what I thought was probably one of the best live performances I've ever seen to what was a favorite. So, it was, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, another honorable mention, Children of Bodom, Shepherd's Bush.
The last time we saw Children of Bodom at a show that wasn't a festival.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it was fucking brilliant. I had a couple of others that I debated on this. Like one of them, I just felt like it was too new, so I wasn't ready to yet commit to it being a favorite. But it was just because it was special for me, and I was there on my own, and that was earlier this year, and that was Dark Tranquillity. Bucket list band for me. Really wanted to see them for ages. Had to watch, doing it for reviewing purposes, but still meant I had to watch like three other bands fucking play before they came on, and like it just did not disappoint. And I remember like being like, oh, when they come on, I catch a couple of tracks, and then I can probably get the train home, and that still write a review off the back of that. But it was like, I ain't moving, man. I watched it to the very end, waited, hoping for another encore. you know. So that was another one as well. And the only other one that I think I really debated on, but well, I couldn't remember enough to justify it, like, was the first time I saw Cradle.
Yep.
Which was at London Astoria, and being like blown away. I think it was the Cruelty and the Beast tour, which is such a strong album anyway. You know, and just being like, I think it was also my first ever gig, you know what I mean? So it was like extra special, but then I have so many gaps in my memories about it. And like, I sometimes when I talk about it, I accidentally include something that happened at a different Cradle show.
Because you've been to a lot of Cradle
Yeah.
shows. Yeah, I'd throw out my only ones that jump to mind is seeing The Offspring at Brixton Academy. That was the first time I ever seen them live. So that was very, very, very cool, but none of stands out to kind of put in this list. And the other one I'd throw out was Judas Priest at Brixton Academy. That was because it was at Brixton Academy and I got to see Judas Priest live there for the first time. That was for me. Yeah, phenomenal on that front. Well, excluding festival sets, really. But yeah, we've been to a lot, and thankfully, hopefully, we'll have more in the future. But that's as of right now. So our three favorite as of December 2022. What's your three? Were you at Faith No More on 17th of June 2015 as we were? I would love to know if you were, and if you share our opinions on that show, or even the others. Were you also at the Machina gig in 2001 or the Static X one in 2007? Because those, I think, are quite specific ones that you kind of want to know, oh, wow, you were there as well. What was your experience like?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?